She was a woman of discipline, a Pilates instructor, someone who taught others to take care of their bodies, to breathe, to live fully. And yet slowly, her own life was being taken away, piece by piece. Larissa Rodrigues didn't die in a car crash. She wasn't shot or stabbed. Her body simply stopped functioning in silence over the course of weeks. Doctors couldn't explain it. Friends were confused. Her family, too close to see the truth, or perhaps too involved to tell it. But when the toxicology report came back, everything changed. The cause of death wasn't illness, it wasn't fate, it was poison. And not just any poison, it was chumbinho, an illegal and lethal substance banned in many countries, including Brazil. So who gave it to her? Why would anyone want to kill a woman with no enemies, no debts, no threats? And how could someone so close, so intimate, be capable of such a methodical and cruel plan? This is not a story about murder in the streets. It's about something far more disturbing, when death is served inside your own home by the hands of those who call you family. At Criminal Psychology Unmasked, we exist to explore the human mind, not to glorify darkness, nor to victimize. If you're drawn to the questions that hide beneath the surface, take a moment to check if you're already subscribed to the channel Criminal Psychology Unmasked. And if this story is resonating with you so far, a like helps more people find these uncomfortable truths. Because the more we look into cases like this, the more we uncover what people are truly capable of, especially those who seem incapable of harm. And that's where Larissa's story really begins. Not with how she died, but with how she lived. At first glance, Larissa Rodrigues was everything society would call safe. A 37-year-old woman living in Ribeirão Preto, Brazil. A respected Pilates instructor, quiet, committed, and admired by her students. She wasn't rich, nor was she known to provoke anyone. She lived a calm life, or at least that's what it looked like from the outside. She had a stable marriage, or so people believed. Her husband, Luiz Antônio Garnica, was a medical professional. To outsiders, they seemed like a normal couple. Independent, settled, supportive of each other's careers. But something beneath the surface had started to rot, slowly, quietly. Friends would later report that Larissa had changed in the months leading up to her death. She became more tired, withdrawn, and pale. Some thought it was stress. Others believed she might be dealing with something hormonal, but Larissa herself couldn't explain what was happening inside her body. She felt ill, but not in a way that doctors could easily diagnose. Every exam came back normal. Every hospital visit ended with no answers. Her decline wasn't sudden, it was agonizingly gradual. One symptom at a time, her body started to give up. Weakness in the limbs, confusion, headaches, numbness. And yet, she kept teaching, kept showing up. That sense of discipline, the same one she once taught to others, was now keeping her alive, or at least delaying the inevitable. What no one saw, what perhaps even Larissa herself refused to believe, was that the danger wasn't in her body. It was in her kitchen, in the tea she drank, in the food she was served, in the people who stood closest to her. Larissa was not a woman at war with the world. She wasn't careless or self-destructive. She was simply trusting, too trusting. And in that vulnerability, a terrible truth took root, that sometimes it's not strangers we should be afraid of, but the ones who smile while they slowly take us apart. It started subtly, as poisoning often does. A headache here, a wave of fatigue there, a feeling of heaviness in the body. At first, Larissa attributed it to stress or maybe nutritional imbalance. She was, after all, a wellness professional. She believed in the body's ability to regulate itself. She adjusted her diet, rested more, and kept going. But the symptoms didn't go away. They evolved. She began experiencing dizziness, tingling in her fingers, and strange fluctuations in her blood pressure. Each hospital visit led to new tests, but the results remained inconclusive. The doctors were puzzled. No one suggested poisoning. No one imagined the possibility of a crime. Meanwhile, her mother-in-law, Elizabete, had started visiting more frequently. She was involved in Larissa's meals, always present, always helpful, and her husband, distant, cold. Some say he seemed detached from the situation, supportive on the surface but emotionally elsewhere. As weeks passed, Larissa's body weakened. Her skin lost its glow, her hair thinned, and her muscles, once toned and firm from years of Pilates, began to deteriorate. She lost weight, not from effort, but from something she couldn't name, something eating her from the inside. There were moments when she questioned it. Could someone be doing this to me? Could this be more than illness? But even those thoughts felt irrational. Who would want to harm her? She wasn't the type of woman who made enemies. She wasn't involved in conflict. And besides, she trusted her family. She trusted her home. This is one of the most tragic aspects of slow poisoning. It's not just the body that suffers, it's the mind. Victims begin to doubt themselves, to second-guess their instincts, to feel foolish for imagining danger where love is supposed to live. By the time Larissa collapsed for the last time, her body had already been surrendering for weeks. But the people around her, the ones who should have been fighting for her, were the very ones who stood to benefit from her silence. And that silence was about to break. When the toxicology results confirmed the presence of chumbinho, a potent and illegal pesticide known to cause neurological failure, the narrative shifted completely. What once appeared to be a tragic, unexplained illness now became something far darker, deliberate poisoning. It didn't take long for investigators to look inward, toward the people closest to Larissa. Suspicion first fell on her husband, Luiz Antônio Garnica, a medical professional, a man trained to understand the human body, its vulnerabilities, and how to mask symptoms. His knowledge, which should have protected Larissa, now raised uncomfortable questions. Why hadn't he insisted on more aggressive medical evaluations? Why did he seem emotionally distant during her decline? Even more unsettling was the role of his mother, Elizabete Arrabaça. She was frequently present in the home, especially in the weeks leading up to Larissa's death. Witnesses noted that she often prepared meals and drinks for her daughter-in-law. The image was one of care, maternal concern, but in hindsight, it looked very different. When both Luiz and Elizabete were arrested, the evidence against them painted a disturbing picture. Investigators found traces of substances in the home that matched the toxins found in Larissa's body. Their behavior during the investigation, evasive, contradictory, and at times cold, only deepened the suspicion. And then came the whispers, rumors of an extramarital affair. Luiz, allegedly involved with another woman, may have been planning a future without Larissa. But divorce wasn't on the table, not in a family obsessed with appearances, stability, and control. Eliminating Larissa, as unthinkable as it sounds, may have seemed like a cleaner solution, but this was not a crime of passion. There was no outburst, no moment of rage. This was calculated, slow, rehearsed, a methodical dismantling of a life disguised as care and routine. What kind of psychological state allows a person to administer poison, not once but repeatedly, to someone who trusts them implicitly? What mental disconnect must exist for a mother and son to participate in such a betrayal, under the same roof where love is supposed to live? These aren't just legal questions. They are human ones, and they reveal something chilling. That the most dangerous predators don't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes they sit at the dinner table, serving you a cup of tea. The method used to kill Larissa Rodrigues wasn't impulsive. It was technical, premeditated, and deeply cruel. The substance found in her body was chumbinho, a highly toxic rodenticide banned in Brazil and many other countries due to its indiscriminate lethality. Its name may sound harmless, almost childish, but its effects are anything but. Chumbinho contains compounds that disrupt the central nervous system. Ingestion can lead to headaches, dizziness, vomiting, internal bleeding, respiratory failure, and eventually, death. What makes it so sinister is how it mimics natural illness. When administered in small doses over time, the symptoms appear vague, evolving slowly, making it the perfect weapon for someone who wants to kill without raising alarm. In Larissa's case, the poison was not given in a single fatal dose. It was administered incrementally, likely mixed into her food, her tea, the small moments of daily life that should have been safe. The effect was cumulative. Her body was breaking down from the inside, while her mind struggled to understand what was happening. Even more disturbing was the presence of lead compounds, also found in her system. Chronic lead exposure can cause neurological damage, mood disturbances, memory loss, and physical weakness. Combining chumbinho with lead wasn't just reckless, it was methodical. The two together created a slow-motion shutdown of Larissa's body and brain, orchestrated by someone who understood her trust and used it against her. This wasn't just murder, it was a performance of care. Someone cooked for her, checked on her, visited her while she was sick, and every one of those acts became a weapon disguised as love. The use of poison, historically, has often been associated with intimacy, not in affection, but in proximity. It requires closeness, access, and the calculated patience to watch another human suffer over time. That level of detachment reveals a psychological coldness that goes far beyond impulse or rage. In forensic psychology, we often ask, is the weapon a reflection of the killer's personality? In this case, the weapon wasn't a knife or a gun. It was knowledge, routine, familiarity. The killer didn't need to break in. They were already inside. As the investigation deepened, the illusion of normalcy around Larissa's death began to fracture. Authorities, now operating with a confirmed poisoning, searched the couple's home. What they found reinforced the darkest suspicions. Traces of toxic substances were discovered in food containers, cups, and even on kitchen surfaces. The home, once seen as a place of wellness and care, had become a silent crime scene. Luiz and Elizabete were brought in for questioning. Their statements at first were calm and cooperative, but inconsistencies emerged. Timelines didn't match. Accounts contradicted each other. Elizabete insisted she only wanted to help Larissa recover. Luiz downplayed his wife's symptoms, portraying her as dramatic or emotionally unstable. It was a subtle attempt at discrediting the victim, a tactic not uncommon in crimes committed within the home. But then, something even more disturbing came to light. This wasn't the first suspicious death in the family. Authorities uncovered that another relative had died months earlier, under mysterious circumstances, and had also been cared for by Elizabete during her final days. That death had been ruled natural at the time, but now, with Larissa's case unraveling, investigators ordered the body exhumed. Toxicologists would later confirm elevated levels of the same compounds found in Larissa's system. The pattern was no longer theoretical. It was chemical, behavioral, calculated. Behind closed doors, a network of control and silence had taken root, one where illness became a mask for malice and caregiving became cover for cruelty. The motive remained complex. Was it financial, familial power, a pathological need to dominate and erase? What psychologists know is this: some perpetrators don't kill out of hate. They kill out of entitlement, a belief that others exist to serve their needs and can be discarded once inconvenient. This case, chilling in its execution, exposed not only a personal betrayal, but a pattern of deception within the most trusted relationships. And as the prosecution prepared to press charges, the final question remained: how many deaths were truly natural in this family, and how many were simply never questioned? Larissa's case forces us to look at violence not as something that always arrives with noise, but sometimes with silence. Not with force, but with routine. Not with strangers, but with the familiar. The horror here isn't in the brutality of the act. It's in its patience, its intimacy, It's performance of care. What makes this story so disturbing isn't just the method or even the motive. It's the setting. A home, a kitchen, a teacup. These are not the places we're taught to fear. They're the places we're taught to feel safe. And yet, for Larissa, they became her final battleground, a place where trust was used as a weapon and love was reduced to a mask. This is why psychological analysis matters. This is why we question. At Criminal Psychology Unmasked, we don't tell stories for shock value. We tell them because they reveal what human beings are capable of, especially when no one is looking. If this video made you reflect, please consider giving it a like, sharing it with someone who should hear it, and leaving a comment below. How do you think cases like this go unnoticed for so long? And above all, make sure you're subscribed to Criminal Psychology Unmasked. Take a second to verify. Sometimes, even regular viewers don't realize they're not subscribed. Your subscription helps us bring more of these critical psychological dissections to the surface. As of now, this case is not fully closed. Investigations are still ongoing, and more developments may come to light in the weeks ahead. When they do, we'll be here, bringing you a new video with the latest discoveries, facts, and analysis. Sadly, this is not an isolated case. Reports of slow poisoning, intimate betrayals, and covert domestic crimes are rising across multiple countries. And while most victims won't make the headlines, their stories deserve to be examined because they reflect something much deeper in our society. The cost of silence, the danger of appearances, and the fragility of trust. Stay with us. Very soon, we'll bring you another case, one that shook an entire population, a crime that left people questioning not only what happened, but how it could happen in the first place. Until then, keep questioning, keep observing, and we'll see you in the next video.